Welcome back to Make It Mondays. This week I'm working on a commission and it is a knit version of a balloon dog. So this is the prototype. So this is a whole bunch of yarn I didn't care about. All my prototypes pretty much are, so they're normally pretty not wonderful colors. So this is him all done, but of course this is not what he looks like as he's being worked. So he is worked from his tail up to his nose, just like a long balloon. So he does get unfolded and it's a long string of bumps. So I'm going to get everything turned around. Before I do, this is going to be made out of cotton yarn in these pretty pastel colors. Again, it's a commission, not much I had to say about the color or the shape or anything else. So I'm going to get everything turned around and show you how it all gets started. So here is the dog all unfolded. Again, we are going to start with the tail and work all the way up to the nose. I am just going to show how to do the tail bubble, again, starting with that very beginning. So let me put this to the side. And I'm going to do this as a magic loop cast on. I am leaving a slightly longer tail than I normally do because I want a prettier weave in at the end. So I've made my loop. I'm going to cast on 4 stitches. So it is single crochet, except I'm not pulling through 2 at the end. I'm just pulling through 1 so that those loops stay live on the crochet hook. Then all the way off the back end of the hook. If you're using an ergonomic hook, you can take them off the hook end as well. And that's it for the hook for this project. Pulling that loop super tight, then flipping it around for the first real stitch. I'm going to be knitting 2 stitches on each needle. I'm not going to do this as a true I-cord, so just on 2 needles, because we are constantly going back and forth to this smaller size. So it goes out to 24 stitches and then back to 4 over and over and over again. So it's just easier to not have it gauge as much by having it go to I-cord knitting, because that tends to be slightly looser. At least it does for me. 2, 3, 4. I'm going to take it out to 6 rows and then show how the increases are working. 5. So I am relatively fast at doing these, partially because I did do the entire other one while I was backstage at a show. That is part of why you guys don't typically see all the steps, is I do actually knit during my quote real job. Yes, all my bosses know. Typically the job that I'm working is not constantly working with my hands, therefore it's not that big of a deal that I end up picking up my knitting. But I also can't film in those locations due to the fact that it's dark and or loud. Okay, so there's my little 6-stitch tip of the tail. So now time for the bubble. So I'm going to knit and then pick up a stitch. And I am doing it as a lifted increase, so I am reaching down and picking up the left leg of the bottom stitch, knitting into it. And do that all the way around. So the whole reason for this commission is the person who ordered it is a child and had learned how to make balloon animals right near the end of the school year and wanted to continue to make balloon animals, realized that they weren't long lasting, so wanted a solution to have one that looks like that, but lasts a little bit longer. Okay, so I've done an increase round. With knitting, you can't do increase, well, you can, it's just harder, but in general, you don't do increase rounds every round. So increase round, steady round, and then we're going to increase again. And this time around, I am going to be adding needles to this. So knit one, increase one all the way around. Sorry about that. Knit one, increase one. I don't think I brought out quite enough knitting needles. But it will end up with 4 stitches on each needle again. And then there will be a steady round, and then where each of these increases was, we're going to do one more. So it's going to be 8 groups of 3 all the way around. But then we're going to just knit straight for a little bit, and I'll come back either at the end of this bubble or at the end of a future bubble to show how it gets closed up. So be back in a bit. So I've gotten to the end of one of the legs, and now it's time to do decreases. So I'm going to knit 1 and knit 2 together. Knit 1, knit 2 together. And that's going to be all the way around. I am going to repeat what I say every time you guys see me do decreases. I don't knit quote correctly. Therefore, while this is a knit 2 together for me, it is an SSK for everybody else. So if you're wanting the stitches to lean this way and you're using this as a pattern, this is, you will need to make sure that the right stitch goes on top of the left stitch. And then it will be a plain round, and then knit 2 together all the way around, a plain round, knit 2 together all the way around again, to get down to the correct number of stitches. So I will be back when it's time to show how the doggy's nose is done, because that would be the tied end of the balloon, and then how it all gets folded up to look like a dog. So I'll be back in just a minute. So here I am at the very last little bit of the doggy. This is going to be his nose. But for those of you who've made balloon dogs, this is where the end of the balloon is. It's a little rolled edge. So I'm actually going to do a purl round, and then I'm going to bind off. So I did have to start, or most of the way through, I was marking where the back side or the end of round needle was for the majority of the project, because it's really easy to lose track of where rounds were. So I've done my purl round, and now I'm going to bind off. So knit, knit, pass the first stitch over. Again, all the way down. So this project didn't actually take me that long to make, but it is also heavily inspired by someone else's pattern. So, that one happens to be crochet, and I know is available on a couple of different platforms. So I'm not sure what's going to happen with this product, if it's going to turn into an actual product, or if it's just going to stay in the commission world. So currently I don't have a pair of scissors with me, so I'm just going to knot this off. Realistically, it would get cut and then pulled through that stitch. But let's show how this gets all tied up. This will also be fixed momentarily. So with the regular balloon dog, that's all you're doing is you're just twisting it, but that doesn't stay for a knit balloon dog. So I'm actually going to be making a whole bunch of overhand knots. So almost there. There's the first one. So nose, ears. Then again, it's just overhand knots, but it's working through all the pieces so that they actually stay put. So neck, front legs, and the back legs. And there's the balloon dog. So here's the full finished balloon dog. Again, still need to weave in some ends, but hope you've enjoyed this. If you've made it this far, please consider liking this video. If you want to see more, please consider subscribing. And if you hit the notifications, you'll see when the next video comes up. And we are reaching towards the end of the year. So I'd also like to remind you all, I do have a couple other ways that people can support me, since currently my YouTube channel is not monetized. You can support me via Patreon, Ko-fi, or buying the products or patterns off of Ravelry, Etsy, or Michael's Maker Place. So I hope to see you next time. Bye!